Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. Table 7. Table 7. After running out of the restaurant, Emma rushed down the street, her heart racing, her face flushed with embarrassment. She had no idea why she had panicked like that. It wasn't like her to just run away. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a fool of herself. She kept replaying the moment in her mind, sitting at the wrong table, making small talk with a complete stranger, only to find out he wasn't who she thought he was. A million thoughts raced through her mind, but one thing kept echoing in her head: why did she feel so connected to him? She walked aimlessly, hoping the cool night air would clear her head. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she didn't want to check it. The last thing she wanted to do was face Jenny's texts, asking how her date was going. She had promised Jenny she would give it a shot, but this wasn't what she had imagined. Not even close. By the time she reached her apartment, Emma was feeling drained, both physically and emotionally. She dropped her keys into the bowl by the door and collapsed onto the couch. She needed to forget about it all, but the more she tried, the more Liam's face kept appearing in her mind. His kind eyes, the way he had smiled at her, even though he knew she had made a mistake. What was wrong with her? Why was she thinking about him? He was just some guy, right? The next morning, Emma woke up feeling groggy. She had barely slept, tossing and turning, her mind consumed by thoughts of Liam. She had told herself it was just nerves, just an awkward situation she would laugh about later. But it wasn't that simple. She had felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. As much as she tried to push it aside, that connection was still there. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she picked it up. It was a message from Jenny. So what happened? Did you meet Kevin? Emma sighed and typed back quickly, "You're not going to believe this, but I sat at the wrong table, and it wasn't Kevin. It was some guy named Liam, and I just ran out like a complete idiot." She stared at the screen, her finger hovering over the send button. She wanted to add more, to explain why she had left, but she didn't know how. As she hit send, she couldn't help but wonder if she would ever see Liam again. What if this was just a funny story for him and his friends? Maybe he would laugh about it later, like the awkward girl who thought he was someone else. But what if he had felt something too? The thought made her stomach twist. She hadn't given him the chance to explain, to even apologize for running off like she had. Was she crazy to think he might care? Hours passed. Emma went about her day, but she couldn't focus. Every little thing reminded her of the dinner the night before, how they had talked, how easy it had been to open up to him. Even now, as she scrubbed the dishes, she could still feel the warmth of his smile lingering in her mind. She shook her head. She needed to snap out of it. Just as she was about to head to bed, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unfamiliar number. Her heart skipped a beat as she unlocked the screen. Her breath caught in her throat. Was this really happening? She quickly typed a response, her fingers trembling. She paused before hitting send. Then, with a deep breath, she added, "But I guess coffee sounds nice." She stared at the screen for a long moment, waiting for his reply. When it came, it was simple: "Great. I'll pick a spot, and I'll see you there." Emma couldn't believe it. He really wanted to see her again. For a moment, she just sat there, trying to process everything. She was about to go on a coffee date with the guy she had just met by accident, who happened to be someone completely different from what she had expected. And yet, for some reason, she couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, this could be the beginning of something real. She smiled to herself, even though she was still uncertain about what would happen next. All she knew was that she couldn't stop thinking about him. The next day, Emma stood in front of the coffee shop, her nerves on edge. She wasn't sure what she was doing, or why she was even here, but something told her she had to see this through. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. And then, she saw him. Liam was already sitting at a small table near the back, dressed casually in jeans and a simple shirt. There was nothing intimidating about him now, no expensive suit or high-end gadgets. Just a man, waiting for her. She walked over, trying to steady her breath. As she reached the table, he looked up and smiled. "Hi, Emma," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Hi, Liam," she replied, sitting down. For a moment, neither of them spoke. But then, as they made eye contact, something shifted. This time, the awkwardness was gone. It felt comfortable. Like they had known each other much longer than a few minutes. As they ordered their coffee, they talked about everything and nothing at all. She shared more stories about her job at the diner, her dream of opening her own art studio, and her struggles with rent. He talked about his work in textile, vague, but she didn't mind. It was nice to just listen. But as the conversation continued, Emma couldn't help but notice something that made her heart skip a beat. Liam wasn't just a guy in a coffee shop. He was the man who had changed her whole perspective on things without even trying. And for the first time in a long while, she started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this was a mistake worth making. They sat there, talking and laughing, and for a moment, Emma felt like everything in her life might just be falling into place. After their coffee date, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam. It was like everything had shifted in just a few hours. The awkwardness from their first meeting seemed to melt away, and she felt more comfortable around him than she had with anyone in a long time. They had laughed together, talked about their lives, and for a moment, it felt like the world outside the cafe didn't exist. She hadn't expected it to go so well. She had expected it to be just another awkward date, but this was different. It was real. Over the next few days, they continued to text and talk, their conversations growing deeper. Emma found herself looking forward to their chats, feeling more and more drawn to him. She couldn't explain why. It wasn't just his kindness or the way he listened to her, it was the way he made her feel understood, something she hadn't felt in a long time. One evening, Liam asked her to meet him for dinner at a small, quiet restaurant. Emma agreed, though she was a little nervous. She was starting to feel a connection, and she wasn't sure what to do with it. Was this just a casual thing? Or was he starting to see her the way she was starting to see him? When Emma arrived at the restaurant, Liam was already there, sitting at a corner table with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. He stood when she walked in, a smile lighting up his face. "Hi, Emma," he said warmly, motioning for her to sit down. "I'm glad you could make it." "Of course," she said, smiling nervously. "It's good to see you again." She sat down across from him, her heart beating a little faster than usual. She couldn't help but notice how different things felt now, sitting here with him. There was a calmness between them, a comfort that hadn't been there before. As they shared a meal, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Liam asked more about her dreams, about her desire to open her own art studio, and how she had always wanted to share her work with the world. Emma told him about her struggles, her fears, but also about the passion that drove her. She felt like he really heard her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like she wasn't just being listened to, but understood. "I think you're amazing," Liam said, his voice soft. "The way you talk about your art, it's like you can see the world in a way most people don't." Emma smiled, touched by his words. "Thank you," she said, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She couldn't remember the last time someone had made her feel that way. "I just hope I can make it work. I've always wanted to show people what I see." For the rest of the evening, they talked and laughed, sharing stories and experiences. As the night went on, Emma felt a growing sense of connection to him. He wasn't just the CEO of the hospital or some rich guy, was someone who cared. And that was something she hadn't expected. After dinner, they walked together outside, the crisp night air filling their lungs as they strolled down the quiet street. Liam's hand brushed against hers, and Emma felt a shiver run through her. She glanced up at him, and for a moment, their eyes locked. She felt like everything around them had faded, like it was just the two of them in that moment. "You know," Liam said, breaking the silence, "I'm really glad we met. I wasn't sure what to expect when we first started talking, but you've made me realize something. I think there's more to life than just work and meetings. Maybe I've been missing out on something." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure where this was going, but the words felt important. She stopped walking and turned to face him. "What do you mean?" she asked softly. Liam looked at her for a moment, his expression serious but gentle. "I mean that I think I've been hiding from the truth about what I really want. I've been so focused on my work, my responsibilities, that I've neglected the one thing that actually matters: connection. With people who are real." He took a deep breath. "And I think you're real, Emma." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. She didn't know how to respond. Was he saying what she thought he was saying? Did he actually see her the way she saw him? Before she could say anything, Liam reached out and gently took her hand. "I'm not saying I have everything figured out," he continued, his voice soft and sincere. "But I want to figure it out with you." For a moment, Emma stood there, her mind racing. Everything was moving so fast, and yet it felt like the right thing to do. She wasn't sure what the future held, but in that moment, she realized something important: she didn't want to let him go. Not just yet. She squeezed his hand gently, a smile tugging at her lips. "I think I'd like that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't a grand declaration, but it was enough. Enough for now. As they stood there under the stars, everything seemed to shift. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, there was something more to life than what she had imagined. The days that followed felt like a blur to Emma. She couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so alive, so present. After her dinner with Liam, things between them had changed. There was a new sense of ease between them, a quiet understanding. They spent more time together: coffee dates, long walks in the park, and even quiet evenings watching movies. But no matter how comfortable she felt, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something she didn't know about Liam. He had been open with her about his work, but there was still a sense of mystery surrounding him. She found herself wondering if this was just a fleeting connection, something that would fade with time. One evening, Liam invited her to an event, a charity gala that was being held at one of the most prestigious venues in the city. Emma was hesitant at first. She wasn't used to the world of high society, the polished world of millionaires and CEOs. But Liam assured her that it would be a casual evening, a chance for them to enjoy the night together. As much as she wanted to avoid it, something inside her told her this was important. She agreed. The night of the gala, Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the simple yet elegant dress Liam had suggested she wear. She had never felt so out of place, but at the same time, there was something exhilarating about it. She didn't belong in this world, but somehow, Liam made her feel like she did. Her nerves were on edge, but when she arrived at the venue, Liam was waiting for her outside, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo, his usual calm demeanor replaced with a warm smile when he saw her. "You look stunning," he said, his eyes lighting up as she walked toward him. "Thank you," Emma said, a little self-conscious. She had never been the type to get compliments, and certainly never in a setting like this. "I still feel like I'm in the wrong place." Liam took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "You belong here with me. Let's go have some fun." As they entered the gala, Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of the room. Elegant gowns and tailored suits surrounded them, and the clink of champagne glasses filled the air. She had never been to an event like this, but Liam seemed right at home, confidently navigating through the crowd. She stayed close to him, feeling a mixture of awe and anxiety. It was clear that Liam was well known here. People greeted him with respect, even a touch of admiration. She watched as he effortlessly moved between conversations, shaking hands with some and exchanging jokes with others. The evening passed by in a blur, with Emma following Liam around the room, meeting people and having small talk, all the while trying to keep her nerves in check. At one point, Liam was called away for a brief conversation with the event organizers, and Emma found herself standing alone, her mind racing. She looked around the room, feeling out of place. That's when she noticed something, or rather, someone. Across the room, a woman in a sleek black dress was watching her, her gaze sharp and calculating. Emma couldn't quite place it, but there was something about the way the woman was looking at her that made her uneasy. She quickly turned away, trying to focus on the conversation she was having with a couple she had just met, but the feeling lingered. Why had that woman been staring at her like that? As the night continued, Emma tried to shake off the uncomfortable feeling, but it gnawed at her. She kept glancing over at Liam, who was deep in conversation with a group of businessmen, laughing and nodding in all the right places. Emma couldn't help but feel a little lost in this world. She was just a waitress, someone who had never imagined herself in a place like this, let alone with someone like Liam. Eventually, they found a quiet corner of the venue, away from the crowd. Liam, sensing her unease, smiled warmly at her. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," Emma replied, but her voice lacked conviction. "It's just all of this is so new to me. I don't really belong here." Liam reached over, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You belong here with me," he said softly, his eyes serious now. "Don't doubt that. You're the only person I want to be with tonight." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. She had always felt out of place, like she didn't fit in anywhere. But with Liam, for some reason, she felt like she finally belonged. But that lingering feeling from across the room still gnawed at her. Who was that woman? And why did she feel so much like an outsider here? The night continued, but Emma couldn't shake her unease. She had no idea what was coming next, but something told her that tonight, she was about to learn more about Liam and perhaps herself than she ever expected. The evening had continued, and Emma couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that had settled in her chest. She had tried to push it aside, but the woman's intense stare across the room lingered in her mind. She tried to focus on Liam, who had been nothing but kind and comforting, making her feel like she truly belonged at this extravagant event, but the mystery woman's presence kept nagging at her. After a while, Liam excused himself to speak with someone from the event committee, leaving Emma alone for a moment. She wandered toward the balcony, needing some air to clear her mind. The city lights sparkled below, but the cool breeze did little to calm her racing thoughts. Emma rested her hands on the railing, looking out at the view. The truth was, the whole night had felt overwhelming beautiful, but out of her depth. She had been surrounded by luxury, by people who were all polished, poised, and at ease. Meanwhile, she couldn't help but feel like an outsider. Yes, Liam had been amazing, but there was still a feeling inside her that she was living in a dream world, one she didn't belong to. Her thoughts were interrupted when she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned quickly, and there stood the woman from earlier, the one who had been watching her across the room. "I hope I'm not interrupting," the woman said with a cool smile, her eyes scanning Emma from head to toe. "But I couldn't help but notice you." Emma felt a flash of tension rise in her chest. "Oh, no, I'm just getting some air." She managed a smile, but it felt forced. The woman raised an eyebrow. "You must be the one Liam brought tonight, right?" "Yes," Emma replied, her voice steady but unsure. "I'm Emma." The woman's smile remained thin, almost calculating. "Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Claire. I work closely with Liam." She paused, her gaze still sharp. "It's not every day we see someone from, well, your background at one of these events." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Claire's words felt like an undercurrent of something she didn't fully understand. "I'm just here with Liam," Emma said, trying to keep things casual. Claire smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. But just so you know, these kinds of events can be tricky. People tend to get a little possessive when they think something's not right." She paused, as if weighing her next words carefully. "I'm sure you'll find your way. Liam's a good guy." Emma didn't know how to respond. There was something about Claire's tone that made her uneasy, but she didn't want to make a scene. She simply nodded, unsure of what Claire meant by possessive. "Well, I'll let you enjoy the evening," Claire said, her smile flickering briefly before she turned and walked away, leaving Emma standing there with more questions than answers. As she re-entered the gala, she found Liam, who was speaking to a small group of people. He smiled when he saw her, his eyes lighting up. "There you are," he said, walking toward her. "Everything okay?" Emma hesitated for a moment, but the warmth in his eyes made her feel safe again. "Yeah," she said, giving him a soft smile. "I just needed a little air." Liam's hand gently brushed hers as they walked back into the crowd. "I'm glad you're here," he said, his voice sincere. "I know it's a lot, but you're doing great." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had been so caught up in her own thoughts, but with Liam by her side, things felt a little less overwhelming. Still, the encounter with Claire left a lingering doubt in her mind. Why had she said those things? What did she really mean? As the night continued, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to Liam's world than she had seen so far. Claire's cryptic words and the strange tension she had felt made her realize that she was just scratching the surface. But she didn't want to focus on that now. She was here, with Liam, and that was all that mattered. The evening finally came to a close, and as they walked out of the venue together, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of bittersweetness. The night had been a whirlwind, full of new experiences and unexpected emotions. She didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear: her life was changing in ways she hadn't anticipated. And Liam, the man she had once thought was just a stranger, had become someone she couldn't imagine her life without. As they stepped into the car, Liam turned to her with a gentle smile. "I'm glad you came tonight. I know it wasn't easy, but you did amazing." Emma smiled, feeling the warmth of his words. "Thank you, Liam. I'm glad I came too." But deep down, she knew that this night had opened a door she couldn't close. And no matter how hard she tried to ignore it, she was beginning to realize that her life, and her heart, were no longer just hers to control. The days following the gala were a whirlwind of emotions for Emma. The feeling of being out of place still lingered in her mind, but she also couldn't deny the growing connection between her and Liam. He continued to reach out, asking her to join him for quiet dinners or strolls through the park. And each time they met, the bond between them seemed to deepen. But despite the warmth he showed her, Emma still found herself struggling with one question: who was Liam, really? The man she had met, the kind and attentive guy who seemed to listen to her every word, was so different from the powerful CEO she had glimpsed at the gala. It was almost as if he were two different people, and Emma didn't know which one was the real him. One afternoon, as she was finishing up a shift at the diner, Emma's phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. He had asked if she could meet him later that evening, and although she had plans to relax, she couldn't help but feel a pull to see him again. She quickly texted back, agreeing to meet him at his usual spot, a quiet cafe in the corner of town. When she arrived, Liam was already sitting at their usual table, looking as calm and collected as ever. As soon as he saw her, his face lit up, and he stood to greet her with a smile. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I'm glad you made it. How was your day?" "It was busy, but it's over now," Emma replied, slipping into the chair across from him. "How about you? I didn't expect to see you so early today." Liam smiled. "I had a bit of free time, so I thought I'd spend it with you. It's been a while since we had a chance to just relax." He paused for a moment, his eyes softening. "I'm glad you're here." As they sat there, talking about everything and nothing at all, Emma couldn't help but feel the tension inside her slowly melt away. She told him about her day, how things at the diner had been hectic, but she always found a way to get through it. Liam listened attentively, nodding and asking questions, his attention entirely on her. But as the conversation continued, Emma couldn't ignore the feeling that had been nagging her since the gala's lingering question about who Liam really was. She couldn't stop thinking about Claire and the cryptic way she had spoken to her. There was something about Liam's world, something about the power and wealth he was hiding, that felt like a mystery waiting to be uncovered. Emma had started to wonder if he was keeping things from her, and the uncertainty made her uncomfortable. Finally, after a few moments of silence, Emma decided to speak up. "Liam, I have to ask you something." Her voice was gentle but serious. "Is there something you're not telling me? I mean, I've been wondering for a while now. You're not just some guy who works in tech, right?" Liam's expression didn't change. He simply looked at her with those calm eyes, as if waiting for her to say more. "I mean," Emma continued, her voice shaking slightly, "we've spent a lot of time together, and you've been so kind to me, but I still don't really know who you are. I feel like there's something about your life, your world, that I'm missing." She paused, taking a deep breath. "I guess I just need to understand what's going on." Liam sat back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. He looked at her for a long moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "Emma, I never meant to hide anything from you," he finally said, his voice slow and sincere. "You're right, I'm not just a guy in tech. But it's complicated." He paused, as if trying to find the right words. "I've been keeping a lot of things from you because I didn't want to overwhelm you with my world. My life is, well, it's not what you think. But I want to share it with you. I just need to know that you're ready." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what he meant, but the seriousness in his voice made her realize that she was about to learn something important. "I'm ready," she said quietly, looking him in the eye. "I just need to know the truth." Liam nodded slowly, as if relieved by her response. "All right," he said, his voice soft. "I'm the CEO of a private healthcare network. I own the hospital we met at, one you didn't know I ran. And I've kept a low profile because I wanted to see how people treated me, not because of my wealth, but because of who I am. The people I interact with, the people I care about. I want them to see me, not my money." Emma sat in stunned silence for a moment, processing what he had just said. The hospital. The power. The wealth. It all made sense now, but it was so much to take in. She had been right all along. Liam wasn't just some guy in tech. He was far more than she had ever imagined. She finally spoke, her voice quiet but steady. "I had no idea. I mean, I thought you were just a regular guy. But I see now that I was wrong." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "Emma, I never wanted to lie to you. I wanted to show you that I'm more than just my position. I wanted to be real with you. But I didn't know how to explain it all. I guess I just didn't want to scare you off." For a long moment, Emma said nothing. She just looked at him, feeling the weight of everything he had just shared. It was a lot to absorb, but at the same time, it felt like the beginning of something new. Something that had the potential to change everything. Finally, she squeezed his hand. "I'm not scared, Liam. I just want to know that you're being honest with me. That's all." He smiled, his eyes soft and reassuring. "I promise you, Emma. I'm being honest with you now." The days that followed felt different for Emma. She had known Liam's secret, now the truth about who he was, about his wealth, and the hospital he owned. It was a lot to take in, but somehow, she found herself feeling even more drawn to him. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that it wasn't the money or power that mattered to her, it was him. It was the way he made her feel safe, listened to, and understood. It was the kindness that had drawn her to him from the very beginning. He had been honest with her, vulnerable even, and that meant more than anything. But despite their connection, Emma couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was still off. She didn't know why, but the woman at the gala, Claire, had left an impression on her that she couldn't ignore. Her words, her gazette, felt like there was something behind all of it, something about Liam's world that Emma wasn't yet seeing. She knew Liam had kept parts of his life hidden, but was it really just to protect her? Or was there more to it? It wasn't long before Emma's suspicions were tested. One evening, after a long day at the diner, Emma received an unexpected call from Liam. His voice on the other end was calm, but there was an underlying tension in it. "Emma, I need to talk to you," he said. "Can you come by the office? There's something I need to explain." His voice was steady, but she could hear the weight of something unsaid in his words. Emma felt a tightness in her chest. She agreed to meet him, wondering what this was all about. As she arrived at the sleek office building, her mind raced. What was it that Liam needed to explain? Had she misread him? Was he about to tell her something that would change everything again? When she stepped inside, Liam was waiting for her in his office. The door was slightly ajar, and as she walked in, he stood up, his expression serious. "Hey," Emma said softly, her voice unsure as she stepped inside. "What's going on?" Liam motioned for her to sit. "I need you to understand something. I've been keeping something from you, and I think it's time you knew the truth." He took a deep breath, sitting across from her. His eyes were steady, but there was a vulnerability there she hadn't noticed before. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She felt a wave of nervous energy course through her. She had thought she knew Liam, but now she wasn't so sure. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Liam paused for a moment, his gaze fixed on her. "I didn't want to tell you this, but it's time. The truth is, there's more to my family's business than just the hospital. My father was involved in some very shady dealings, and some of that has affected me more than I care to admit." Emma's brow furrowed. "What kind of dealings?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's face tightened slightly. "My father was involved in illegal business ventures, things that could ruin everything I've worked for. I've been trying to keep that from you, trying to protect you from my past, but I can't hide it anymore." He leaned forward, his voice quiet but firm. "I want you to know the truth, because I don't want any secrets between us. This is part of my life, and it's something I've been dealing with for years." Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing his words. She had always known there was something more to Liam's life, but this was different. The weight of his confession hung in the air like a thick fog, but as she looked at him, she saw the sincerity in his eyes. He wasn't trying to hide from her anymore. He was being vulnerable in a way that felt raw and real. "Liam," she said softly, "I don't know what to say. But I appreciate you telling me the truth. I know this isn't easy for you. And you don't have to carry this burden alone. We'll figure it out together." She reached out and placed a hand on his. "Whatever's happened, it's in the past. We can't change that. But we can choose how we move forward." Liam looked at her, his expression softening. "I'm not asking you to fix this, Emma. I just needed you to know. I don't want any more secrets between us." Emma smiled gently, squeezing his hand. "No more secrets," she whispered. "But you have to promise me one thing." She met his eyes, her voice serious. "No matter what happens, you won't push me away." She had felt the distance in their relationship before, when he had kept his past hidden from her. She didn't want that to happen again. Liam nodded slowly, his grip tightening around her hand. "I promise. I won't push you away." He paused, his voice low. "I just don't want to lose you." He had said it quietly, but the words hit Emma like a wave. He meant it. And for the first time, she believed him. In that moment, Emma knew that whatever obstacles they faced, they would face them together. The weight of Liam's past no longer seemed as heavy with her by his side. As long as they had each other, they could handle anything. The following days felt different for Emma. She had always known that Liam carried a heavy burden, but the weight of his confession had opened her eyes to just how much he had been hiding. Yet, instead of distancing herself, Emma found herself wanting to be closer to him than ever before. She couldn't help but admire his honesty, the way he had finally allowed her into his world. No secrets, no walls. It was a risk, but it felt like the right thing. She wasn't just falling for Liam's kindness anymore, she was falling for the man who was brave enough to share his past with her. They spent the next few days talking about everything and nothing about his past, about their future. Liam opened up more, sharing his struggles with running the hospital, the pressure of his family legacy, and the guilt he felt for keeping so much from her. Emma listened, offering comfort and support when he needed it, but she never once judged him. She understood what it was like to carry the weight of expectations, and she was grateful that he trusted her enough to share his. One evening, as they sat together at the diner, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. She didn't know what, but she could feel it in the air between them. The conversation had shifted from light-hearted banter to something deeper, more meaningful. Emma glanced up from her coffee cup and met Liam's eyes. He had been quiet for a moment, lost in thought, and Emma could tell there was something on his mind. "Liam," she asked, her voice soft, "what's going on? You seem distant." Liam looked up, a slight frown on his face. He paused, his hands resting on the table. "I've been thinking about what you said the other night," he said slowly. "About no more secrets. And I realized something." He took a deep breath, his gaze serious. "I've been running from something my whole life. My past, my responsibilities, everything. I thought I could control it all by keeping it to myself, but the truth is, I don't want to do that anymore. Not with you." Emma's heart fluttered in her chest. She reached across the table and took his hand in hers, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Liam," she said softly, "you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything figured out. We're in this together. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out." She meant it. She was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, as long as they faced them together. Liam's eyes softened, a mix of relief and gratitude in his gaze. He nodded, his thumb brushing over her hand. "I'm not perfect, Emma. I never was. But I want to be better for you. For us." As they sat there, surrounded by the hum of the diner, Emma couldn't help but feel like something inside her had shifted too. She had always been the kind of person who kept her guard up, afraid to let anyone in. But with Liam, she felt different. She felt like she could be vulnerable, like she could be herself without fear of judgment. And that realization hit her like a wave. "I think I'm falling for you," she whispered, barely able to contain the words that had been building inside her. She looked up at him, her heart racing. "I know it sounds crazy, but I think I am." She had said it out loud before she could stop herself, but it didn't matter. She had to say it. Liam's face softened, and he gave her a smile that made her heart swell. "Emma, I've been falling for you too. I think I've been falling for you from the moment we met." His voice was full of sincerity, his words comforting her in a way that made everything feel right. In that moment, Emma knew. She knew that this was the beginning of something real. Something that went beyond the surface, beyond the world that Liam had built around him. It wasn't about money or power Anna-Marie, it was about the connection they had, the bond that had grown between them, the love that was blooming in the most unexpected way. As the evening stretched on, they sat there together, the world around them fading into the background. All that mattered was the two of them, two people who had been through their own battles but had found solace and understanding in each other. And for the first time, Emma felt like she wasn't alone. She had found something she hadn't realized she was searching for, a love that was real, built on trust and honesty. "You're my home, Emma," Liam said quietly, his voice full of emotion. "I didn't know what I was looking for until I found you." His words wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace. Emma smiled, feeling the weight of his words settle deep inside her. "And you're mine," she whispered back. In that moment, the world felt right again. Together, they would face whatever came next. The following weeks felt like a dream for Emma. What had started as a chance encounter at the wrong table had blossomed into something real, something deep. She and Liam spent their days together, exploring the city, laughing, and talking about everything under the sun. The walls between them had come down, and with every passing day, they grew closer. But even as their relationship flourished, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something she needed to understand, something about Liam's life, something about the future. One evening, Liam invited Emma to dinner at a quiet restaurant, one they had visited on their first date. She could tell something was different about him tonight. There was a certain calmness in his demeanor, a peace she hadn't seen before. As they sat down to eat, Liam smiled across the table, his eyes soft and full of emotion. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said, his voice steady. "About us, about the future. I know we've both been through a lot, and I've been asking myself what I really want." He paused for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. "What I want is you, Emma. I want you in my life now and always." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. She had known for a while that this was coming, but hearing him say it aloud, in the quiet of the restaurant, made it feel all the more real. She smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. "Liam," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I want that too. I want you in my life. You've shown me a kind of love I never thought I'd have, and I know that this is just the beginning." She reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. "We don't have to have everything figured out right now. We'll take it one day at a time, together." He squeezed her hand, his eyes shining with something deep and unspoken. "I couldn't agree more," he said, his voice low but full of warmth. As they finished their dinner, Liam didn't let go of her hand. The connection between them had become something stronger than either of them expected. It wasn't just about the mistakes, the secrets, or the differences between their worlds. It was about the trust they had built and the love they were learning to embrace. That night, as they walked back to her apartment, Liam stopped her outside the door. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. "Emma, there's one more thing I need to tell you." His voice was soft but filled with meaning. Emma looked up at him, her heart racing. "What is it, Liam?" she asked, her voice steady but curious. He smiled gently, his eyes full of sincerity. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want you to be by my side through everything, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Emma, will you marry me?" He knelt down on one knee, pulling out a small box with a beautiful ring inside. Emma's eyes filled with tears as she looked at him, her heart overflowing with love and happiness. She had never expected to be here, not in a million years, but in this moment, everything felt perfect. She had found the love of her life, and he had found her. "Yes," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Liam. I'll marry you." As Liam stood up, his face lit up with a wide grin. He kissed her softly, and the world around them seemed to disappear. In that moment, they were the only two people who mattered, and everything was right. The future stretched out before them, full of unknowns and challenges, but Emma knew one thing for sure: together, they could face anything. She had found her home, not in a place, but in Liam's heart. As they embraced, Emma realized that love wasn't about perfection or grand gestures. It was about being there for each other, no matter what, and choosing each other every day. And with Liam by her side, she knew she had made the best choice of all.